Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
This is the Edge of Liberty podcast.
Get ready for truth bombs, belly laughs, and the kind of accent that turns car into a two-syllable adventure. Here's your host, Sean.
Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I'm already seeing a problem that I'm just going to have to deal with. Because something got changed yesterday, and let me back that down. I didn't pay attention to where I'm setting it up, so it's, it is what it is, as they say. We will make it happen. Oh, hold on. No. See somebody saying that my sound sounds weird, but I just checked everything and it's all there, so I don't know. Maybe it does sound weird. Maybe it doesn't sound weird, but it doesn't matter because we're live. It's April 2nd, 2026. This is the Edge of Liberty. I am Sean. It's you. He sounds weird. Thank you for that, BZ. I appreciate it. Coming to you live and direct in portrait mode, apparently. Somebody changed the settings. And it wasn't me this time, just so everybody knows that. It wasn't me. I didn't do this. I didn't cause this. It wasn't my error. And the person who did, in fact, change it will be flogged appropriately and and not allowed to eat anything but bread and water for a week, because that's how we roll here at SHR Media. We don't screw around when it comes to discipline. And the person who did it, who made the settings change, knows who it is right now. No big deal. We'll push on. I should have checked it. I'm a grown-up. I am in charge of my own person, and I usually do a better job. Yeah, it was River Common Sense. It was Jersey Joe. He screwed it up. And now he's going to have to be flogged and starved. And that's just, that's actually written in the contract here at SHR Media. Maybe not the full week on bread and water, but definitely going to be flogged. Are you a growing up? I am a growing up. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Sorry I missed last night. I had a migraine from hell. It was just one of the, Joe, bud, it's my own fault for not checking. I'm just giving you a hard time. I knew exactly what happened as soon as I saw the full angle. As soon as I saw my drink cup, I was like, oh, we're definitely in portrait mode. That's all right. I will do just fine in portrait mode for the evening. So as I said, Pam Bondi's out. We'll talk a little bit about Operation Epic Fury and talk about California, because it's a bigger shit show every single day. But first, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to bring everyone back a little bit because it's fun to do so. Oh, that's not it. Is it this one?
You watch your ass.
Nope, that's not it. Oh, nope, that's not it.
The best late night conservative
See, when you're
talk
on
show in
camera,
America.
it's mirrored, and you're trying to do it over here.
And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best.
Yes, I know,
conservative
BZ,
talk.
you secretly love
Backhand
landscape
shots, backhand
mode, but,
shots.
you know,
And we're working on
you were also around when the wheel was invented. So, I mean, your opinion somewhat matters.
around the world to the best late
For
night
those who don't know
conservative
this song,
talk, Sackheads Radio.
this was the original Sackheads Radio theme. It wasn't the original. This is the one we eventually decided on. And every once in a while, I could just play it for all the old timers in the audience,
Late night conservative talk show
specifically
in America.
BZ.
In America.
This way, when he gets his pudding tonight, he thinks it's 2014.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest.
All right, let's get back down into actual politics. So, Pam Bondi is out as AG. I put a little poll up. I haven't been watching the numbers as to whether or not you approve or you don't approve. I know if you're a conservative and you voted for Trump wanting things to be changed, you're probably approving it right now. If you are a conservative who didn't expect things to change, you're just kind of like, meh. I don't think any of us are blown away by it, but I also don't think any of us have any sort of mixed feelings. Now, if you're a Democrat, you liked Pam Bondi because she got you sound bites. The problem is the guy who's coming in. Oh, let me adjust that. There we go. The guy who might be coming in, Lee Zeldin, is going to be much more, if he gets approved, much more of a juggernaut, if you will, than Pam Bondi was. Wow, I didn't turn on any of my. Oh, there we go. That's better. Hold on. I'm all messed up. It's Thursday. This is what happens when you don't have your regular show. You show up on Thursday and everything's out of sorts. So anyhow, the announcement was made on Truth Social. Todd Blanche will step in as the acting attorney general. Trump was reportedly furious that she did not aggressively pursue investigations, ones that were glaringly obvious. Reports today claim that there was a massive showdown where she begged to keep her job, and there are rumors that she tipped off Representative Swalwell about the file release due to their personal friendship. Now, I can't confirm that. However, if that happened, that is a massive problem in of itself, because I talked about this Monday night. They're reopening Swalwell's files. And I said Monday night, if it shows that he did nothing wrong, I will admit it. However, there's also the home team advantage when it came to that investigation because it was done by a friendly DOJ, right? There's a final nail in the tire of love. And I want to know what's in there. And you want to know what's in there. You should. He allegedly was hooking up with a Chinese spy who took off from the country as soon as it came out, much like Dianne Feinstein's limo driver and Kathy Hochul's aide. Was it Kathy Hochul's aide or was it the other one? Either way, all of the Chinese spies that keep showing up and somehow getting close to really prominent people because, you know, love everybody and you can't say no to somebody because they might be from a different country, and that would come off as seeming racist, like, oh no, I can't hire you even though you have massive ties to the Chinese government because I don't want you to call me a racist, so we're going to hire you anyhow. That wasn't the case with Fang Fang. The case with Fang Fang was very simple. As I said Monday night, Eric Swalwell has been a nerd his entire life. When he got into politics, he started getting notoriety. When a fairly attractive Asian woman showed interest in him, hook, line, and sinker. Hook, line, and sinker. Have you had a friend who maybe when they were young didn't, you know, in their early 20s, college, late high school, whatever, didn't necessarily get along with the ladies? And then all of a sudden, like at 21, 22, he got a good paying job and he had some money. He had something to actually lose. And all of a sudden, he's now dating all of these women who couldn't tell you what his middle name was, but they know what day he gets paid. That was Eric Swalwell, in my humblest of opinions, and just about the opinion of everybody who's honest about what happened there. And again, if she did tell Eric Swalwell to let him get out ahead of this and to prepare for this, like Reaver of Common Sense just said, if there's nothing in the files, why would Eric be suing to keep the files from being released? Exactly. It would do nothing but vindicate Eric Swalwell. Look, if it's all in there, let's see it, right? And we talked about, I've written articles on shrmedia.com, on my show, BZ's show, Reaver's show, Mission Ready Men, everybody's show. I don't think Lyle's done a China show yet, but we'll give him time. We've talked about what a threat the Chinese government is to America. And on top of getting close to political assets, we've seen the Chinese government try to infiltrate universities, try to sneak bioweapons in the form of germs and other things, try to take some out. If you just look in shrmedia.com, you can search China, the rising of dark China or something like that. I forget what I titled it. It was a couple months ago. But all you have to do is start really looking, and you'll see that the Chinese government is constantly, actively trying to infiltrate, steal technology. They do that. I mean, they steal so much intellectual property from our nation, et cetera, that everything involving the Chinese government has to be looked at with a microscope and nailed down. We don't know what Eric Swalwell told her when they were having alleged pillow talk. Maybe he had to repeat it a few times because of the language barrier. I wasn't there. You weren't there. I don't know. She loved him long time, maybe. It happens. However, it should not happen on that level. And the lack of transparency with that investigation was atrocious. And there's a lot of other things that Pam Bondi did not handle well. The release of the Epstein files. I mean, she famously brought conservative influencers to the White House and handed them these big binders and had this image portrayed that everything that you needed to know is in there and we were going to get all the answers, and nothing at that time came out. The House Oversight Committee subpoenaed her to appear on the 14th of April, which she now no longer has to do. Will comply with the Epstein file. Why she didn't comply, I should say. Now, I will tell you right now, before CNN, and maybe they already have, and I'm sure maybe this has been said, that is going to be where the Democrats hone in. Oh, he fired her before the 14th of April, and that way she can't say anything, and blah, 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 and she can't be subpoenaed because now she's not the AG, and blah, 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 blah. So that's coming. Ignore that bullshit. That's just noise, right? She screwed up. The Epstein files, the release was atrocious. 100% was atrocious. I still, from everything that I've seen and everything that we've learned, there was absolutely nothing in there that they wanted, which is why they were so mad when it came out in segments. And Bondi should have been prepared for that. She should have been prepared for that. Or, like anybody else, when you're given a major task and you're a grown-up and adult and you have an unrealistic deadline, and you know realistically you cannot make that deadline with the parameters that are set upon you. Hey, NCX is in the chat. Welcome, NCX. Good to see you, sir. Then you articulate that to your boss. Hey, I'd love to get that done on time, but I can't get it done on time because the amount of work that you have to do to get it done on time is not possible with the equipment, manpower, information, etc. And that was never said. It just started to trickle out. And that caused more drama than it needed to be, because now that we're up to, somebody's going to correct me in the chat room, please, 6 million files plus, and there's still nothing in there that the Democrats wanted. If anything, it just means that there's a whole bunch of Democrat donors who are complete shitbags. A couple of conservative too. A couple of people in there from the right side of the aisle who are shitbags as well. First one to admit that. But it was far more on the left, which is why they honed in on it not releasing. Because, as I've said before, and for all of you young kids, block your ears. This is an adult show. I'm about to talk about something adult-like. There's this term called edging. There's this term called edging in a sexual manner, which means to constantly bring somebody close to that happy moment and never, ever allowing them to have it. And that's what the Democrats did to the Democratic supporters for the last year with the Epstein files. We got them this time. We got them this time. Russia, Russia, Russia. Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. We got them this time. And then when there was nothing in there for them to chew on, then the focus became, why are they slow rolling it out? Why isn't this coming out fast enough? There's a law. There is a law. I agree. That should have been followed. I agree. But it wasn't. BZ, you know what, pal? That's exactly what I was talking about too. Thank you very much for that. That's it. Clean, fixing lawns. So she didn't help herself there. And there's a lot of other cases. Look, I mean, back in 2013, this is the beginning. And this is why she was all for red flag laws, which was a huge, huge issue with 2A supporters and conservatives. Back in 2013, she dropped an investigation into Trump University fraud complaints right after receiving a large campaign donation from Donald Trump. Now, again, does that mean that Trump University did something illegal? No. Is the timing terrible? Absolutely. As soon as she became the AG, she dropped 23,000 pending cases to redirect resources to immigration enforcement. Again, you have to be able to communicate with your boss. I can't do two things at once, right? Can't do two things at once. I can't give up all these people and be able to prosecute in the same level. And if she had that conversation with Trump and he was like, that's cool, okay. He's in charge of the executive. He makes that decision. But it was never, ever, ever articulated to the general public. And she obviously dropped the ball on Lisa Cook, Jerome Powell, Schiff, and a whole bunch of other ones. And, you know, I think most of MAGA, if you will, or most conservatives are going to say good riddance. Now, she's going to end up probably on Fox News. She's going to be making a ton of money. I don't think she'll ever run for anything again, or it'll be 20 years before she does, enough to let this go down. But her career in politics and as a government official is probably over, I'm guessing. Lee Zeldin, like I said, former congressman in New York, big MAGA supporter. But it's probably going to be Lee Zeldin. If you haven't followed what Lee Zeldin's been doing over at the EPA, it is something that has gone amazingly under the radar. And for those, I was in the trucking industry. Tonight, Canada Heavy Haul, who's in the trucking industry, will be on with BZ at 8 o'clock talking about Canada and what a disaster Canada is right now. But the amount of rollbacks that they did will benefit the trucking industry tremendously, as well as what the Department of Transportation is doing, getting rid of these drivers who can't speak English and have these illegal licenses, essentially. And I'm going to show you in a minute, when we do the roll through California, some of that illegal license stuff. But that's going to make things eventually cheaper to your table, cheaper into your tank, cheaper into your life, cheaper into your building and your construction, because he got rid of a whole bunch of red tape bullshit that was not doing anything but costing people money and making people feel good in their no-nos. I mentioned California. I mentioned licenses, and I'm going to get to the governor and all that stuff and the fraud. But this, so everyone remembers, this was a individual. Her name is Shawana Harris, who works for the DMV, and this happened all over the country. I'm highlighting this incident. This isn't a one-off. We saw the undercover recordings in Florida, yada, 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 and we saw it in California too with the non-domicile CDLs, the schools being allowed to pass their own people. That still the most ridiculous thing in the world. These private schools who get paid essentially to hand out licenses that have no standards whatsoever. Hey, can you go forward? Can you go back? Can you turn the corner? Here's your license. Have a nice day, to drive an 80,000-pound missile. But watch this video. And when I was talking about California and other other states. But watch this video. It's a couple years old, but I feel like when I talk about the CDL stuff, people don't quite get it that this is what was going on.
A CDL appointment?
Ma'am, Homeland Security, step away from the terminal.
Oh, not that one. I'm just kidding. That wasn't the video I wanted.
The officers are
4 other ones saved. That's not a legit video.
Kiana Gentry, step.
One wasn't. And I don't know where my right video is. And I apologize for that. I made a mistake. I actually pull that up to compare and contrast, but without the real one to contrast it to the real one does not work. But in California right now, the DMV is running in circles because the amount of investigations that's actually going on into these CDLs. Most of my videos should be from the right. You're right. Wrong one. From these CDLs is absolutely incredible. And there was another accident. I want to say it was down in Florida this past weekend where the person was unlicensed and somebody died, or was licensed. I'm sorry, should not have been, and somebody died. And then California, let's talk about the fraud. Let's talk about hospice first. The 626 hospice raid took place yesterday. Yesterday morning, the FBI raided a home in San Dimas, California. Agents arrested Gladwin and Amelio Gill, who operated 626 hospice operations. If you don't know what hospice is, I am all balled up tonight. If you don't know what hospice is, and a lot of people don't, which I think is kind of interesting, but not important really. When you get to the point that is the end of your life and you just need to be kept comfortable, there's nothing more doctors can do for you, and you want to go home or you want to be in a place that's relaxing, not a hospital, you notify a hospice company, organization, and they arrange those with your insurance, Medicare, Medi-Cal, whatever, to pay for it. So your last few days in your life with your family and loved ones is comfortable. It is a valuable service. It is a tremendous service. I've known people, absolutely known people, who have utilized hospice and have worked in the hospice industry, and they're angels, because every single assignment you get, especially the workers, it's a short-term assignment, unfortunately. And you have to go in there and be the best version of yourself for these people and try to make them and their family comfortable as your patient passes away. It is a tremendous undertaking for a human being. The flip side of that, for the families to watch your loved ones be comfortable, to watch them be without pain as much as humanly possible, and to get appropriate care, makes your soul feel better for the person that you're about to lose. So when people start using that to commit fucking fraud, 626 hospice operations. They billed Medicare, these two alone, for over $7 million by admitting healthy people and claiming they were dying. 97% of their terminal patients were still alive after 5 years. Let me break that down for you. They were just taking people who had Medicare and saying that they were dying, using them, their friends, whatever. They were probably kicking back money to people, signing them up for hospice, getting fake doctors. And by the way, you say, oh, what doctors would sign off on stuff like that? Millions. There are doctors all over the place. They'll sign off on anything. If you've ever dealt with a workers' comp doctor that works for the insurance company or for the state, you'll realize how out of touch some doctors actually are to reality. And there are some doctors out there who will absolutely, if you pay them enough, sell you a certain medication or sign off on hospice care, saying, yes, this person needs hospice. And then they're alive for the next 5, 10, however long years. The thousands and thousands of dollars that they're saying this one individual needs for their end-of-life care, the hospital bed, the medication, whatever they're charging Taxpayers are paying for it. It is, as BZ said, beyond despicable to take advantage of a system that was designed to make people's ends of life better. And it's just disgusting. And of course, it's happening in California. And it's happening in Minnesota. It's happening in other places too. We're starting to see them pop up. There was another raid yesterday, Operation Never Say Die. The raid was part of a massive federal sweep. Authorities arrested 11 defendants and uncovered $50 million in healthcare fraud. Once again, you had the $7 million just from these two on the hospice. That goes through Medicare. And now $50 million in healthcare fraud. Dr. Oz and VP Vance actively pushed this massive crackdown. An audit showed, and again, this ties into the hospice as well, over 700 additional hospice county cases that trigger the major sweeps. One single office, beyond the one I just talked about, housed 89 separate hospice agencies. All of this happened, and just so people are aware, Medicare pays the state. The state has Medi-Cal. Now it's something else. It's the partnership now. It used to be called Medi-Cal. And they're the ones who actually do the work. They sign the paperwork, they approve things, yada, 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 and then they just bill the federal government for it. So this is defrauding the federal government via state oversight. And it shows you, and we've talked about on the show numerous times, that California is so fucking big, like the DMV, as I talked about earlier, like this hospice fraud, like so homelessness and all this other stuff, that there is no way to successfully have oversight, especially when you have it run by people who don't want fucking oversight, which would be Gavin Newsom and other Democrats in California. And we've shown you Gavin Newsom numerous times, but let's worry about what the First Lady of California, the first partner, I forget what she's called now. They always want to have a special name. Where is it? I know I got it here somewhere. Because she did an interview, and this is what they're really focused on. Oh, where is it? I know I have it. Hold on, give me a second. Look it up. I had it saved, and obviously all my save files are messed up, and I apologize. What do I get? 3 minutes to break? It's totally fine. Here it is. This is what she's worried about in this state. Not the homelessness, not the crime issue, not hospice taking advantage of the federal government and taxpayers and potentially people that could really use that hospice care. None of that stuff.
My son's...
No. She's worried about this.
My sons are really into sports, or so are my girls, but my sons will watch their favorite athletes on YouTube.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you'll find this sort of alt-right, extreme, Jordan Peterson type.
Hold on for a second. Jordan Peterson has nothing to do with sports. So she's making this jump from sports. And yes, are there some people who are conservatives that do sports shows on YouTube? 100%. Does Jordan Peterson or Tim Pool or any of the other famous alt-right, do I do sports? Well, I'm not famous, but do I do sports? No, they don't do sports. So the sports analogy had nothing to do, or the sports connection had nothing to do with this. Her end game was get to say, oh, people on YouTube, there are some alt-right people and we don't like them. And much like we've heard from Hillary Clinton and other Democrats, we have to do something to control their message because we don't like them to speak freely.
Speaking to my sons.
Right.
It's insane.
Right.
Connected to the sports culture. That's not healthy. Are you kidding? So then our boys are learning hate, bigotry, misogyny, racism. Yeah. So it's very dangerous.
Hold on a second. How are they learning all of that watching sports programming? Let's be honest. These massive claims, and this is all throw out a bunch of buzzwords because the next thing that's coming tells you what the actual goal is. So I'm going to say all these buzzwords. I'm going to relate it to my son so you feel connected. And once again, emotions rule. Watch what she thinks should happen.
And I think we have to take responsibility, and we have to hold those in leadership in tech accountable.
We have to hold those leadership in tech accountable. By the way, I don't know how she and Gavin both have the really weird hand things going on the whole time. But they do. I don't know if that was like lesbian interpretive dance classes that they took in college or whatever that was, but it's the weirdest thing. But the end goal, and you saw this with the EU, and you saw Hillary Clinton call for this, they know they cannot go after your specific First Amendment. So what do they want to do? They want to go after the organizations that allow us to broadcast on here, to go onto X or Facebook or whatever. They want to hold them accountable and make it so expensive for them to allow free speech that they just stop allowing it, which is funny because on YouTube and on other outlets, we're just coming out of it. We're just coming out of conservatives actually being throttled for years. And it still happens tremendously. Not as bad as it used to, but it still happens on a regular basis. But because conservatives took to social media for the last 3 elections and it won them 2 out of the 3, and the third one was pretty damn close, I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. But my point is, they found out that we can communicate, and that communication got the younger generations, specifically males and people of color during the last election, to vote conservative. And they can't have that. They can't have that because it fucks with their numbers. And if the SAVE Act passes, it's already going to hurt their numbers. We know that. And this is scramble mode. This is the end game. This is what Democrats are floating. And this is their next step. And that way they can control the narrative more, which is what we saw previously. I'm up against a break. Thanks to KLRN for simulcasting this evening. Greatly appreciate you folks. Please say thank you to the moderators in the chat for being there. I know it's a quiet chat tonight. I know I'm not in vertical. I know the numbers are down. That's totally fine. Say thank you anyhow, because they're putting their time and effort in to make sure that the chat room's a nice place to be. Be right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Welcome to the SHR Media Shop. This is not just merch, it is a statement. SHR Media is built as a rebellion against the mainstream. We deliver truth without a filter or permission. When you wear our gear, you are standing for liberty and unapologetic free thought. Every piece is a badge of support for independent journalism. Wear it loud, wear it proud. Support the mission and join the rebellion at the SHR Media web store.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high-quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this, you rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Come listen to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show. Live on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 11 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Central, and 8 p.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Rumble channel, SHR Media YouTube channel, X, Twitch, Spreaker, and wherever great conservative podcasts are found. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, guides you through the maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Raised as a free-range child with dirt, stains, mud, and freedom, BZ broadcasts from North Idaho, comfortably surrounded by actual normal people. Jump into our plush, sumptuous, palatial, and resplendent chat room on rumble.com. Click on live chat to join. Now, with 37% more umbrage and 19% more bulbosity than previous shows, featuring delicious Liberty additives for the best in late-night conservatarian talk radio. BZ reminds you that with great beard comes great responsibility. No chinchillas were harmed, embarrassed, fat-shamed, or the focus of any sarcasm whatsoever in the making of this ad.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Edge of Liberty right here on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us. We are in the final 25 minutes. Hey, look, you want this? 250 reasons to read source documents. This amazing shirt. I saw NCX Group talking to Big E about shirts. This is a great shirt that you can get made by Seven Armors. Get the SHR logo. Oh, there it is. The SHR logo is right there. Go to shrmedia.com. Right under the banner, you'll see this shirt. It looks, hold on. It looks something like this. There it is. You'll see that shirt at the top. Just click on it. It'll bring you the SHR Media store where you can get a whole bunch of other swag as well. So go ahead and check that out. We would greatly appreciate that very much. Coming up at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 the East Coast, right here on the SHR Media Network, you have BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, where he's going north of the border, eh? Canada Heavy Haul, you've seen him in my chat. You've seen him in other people's chats. He's on X. He's a truck driver who lives in Canada. He's been in Canada his whole life. And they're going to discuss some atrocities that are just going on. Canada's in trouble, man. A lot of people don't realize that Canada's in a lot of trouble. They do a good job because a lot of their media is, in fact, run by the Canadian government. People don't like to talk about that, but it's true. Independent media has a tendency to be arrested in Canada and try to shut down as often as possible. All of that came out with the trucker protest a couple of years ago. You started really seeing that, and then again in COVID before that. So Canada has a lot of really nice people. They're fucked. And I hope, because like I said, my roots go through Canada back to Europe when my family came over this way. They went through Canada first before they went to Boston. And I have relatives who are still in Canada, and I wish nothing but the best for Canadians, but they got to get their shit together, and they have to do that by voting. The problem is I don't know. I really don't know if they have the numbers, which is why Alberta is trying to get the fuck out of Dodge, and I can't say I blame them. So I want to go back to what we were talking about here, and we're hitting on California. There's another case in California where an individual by the name of Shakir Khan, this gentleman right here, who, this is from KCRA 3 in Sacramento, is giving thumbs up and proud of himself as he's being led into court. Sackhead Sean, you might say, what was he so proud about? Well, he was caught. When investigators searched his house, they found 41 completed and sealed mail-in ballots stashed away. A local citizen looking into the voter rolls discovered 71 names registered to Khan at his personal address. This is just one person. He systematically exploited his own community to harvest votes to rig a local election. Now, when we talk about the SAVE Act and we talk about election integrity, you say, well, he only had 71. This guy only had 71. That doesn't mean there weren't 100 other of these guys or more, thousands. I mean, really, if they figure out an operation, much like we've seen with the fraud, Minnesota, California, Medicare, daycare, hospice, once there's a system that people find that they can manipulate and they start telling their friends who are of like minds, not always good people, hey, this is how you manipulate it. That is how this spreads more and more. So we talk about voter fraud. Yeah, this is on a local election, but that doesn't mean it can't happen nationally. And all of this is happening under the guidance or lack of guidance, if you will, of one Gavin Newsom. Now, Gavin Newsom is running for president. He's actually, I know he hasn't announced it yet, but in between his bitching that he's being throttled on X, it's just ridiculous, and TikTok. And by the way, Gavin Newsom will make himself a victim whenever he possibly can. See dyslexia Gavin Newsom. You know, that ailment that he all of a sudden claims he had, even though he's never talked about it before, and then try to use that to say that Trump was making fun of everyone with dyslexia. That Gavin Newsom, that POS, who works 2 miles from here, mile and a half, whatever it is. His aide, Dana Williamson, was recently indicted on 23 accounts of bank and wire fraud for funneling money from campaigns to buy Chanel bags and charter jets. This was a woman who sat 2 or 3 chairs down from him. By the way, and I wasn't even going to get into this tonight, but I'm just going to mention it really quick. Did you see the story about AOC using campaign funds to get ketamine treatments? Really bizarre. It's almost like Democrats just love to use campaign funds for things that they're not supposed to have. NCX group. I have dyslexia and I had 1,500 of 1,600 on my SATs. Yeah, you know what's funny is a lot of people with dyslexia usually don't tell you they have dyslexia because they found a way to be able to proceed without it. I'm not saying that it doesn't affect some people. My wee one has dyslexia, and she has her struggles with it, but we're getting her extra help to learn how to navigate life and find ways to overpower it. Or overpower, it's probably not the right word, but to work around it and make it work for her, much like you just said, it's my superpower. I say that about my ADHD all the time. I don't know if it's true or not, but I say it all the time. Going back to California, this is on top of a massive surplus that California used to have that is now going to be a deficit when Gavin leaves the office. It's amazing how the deficit for Democrats always seems to show up almost immediately after they're out of office. We'll talk about it, but we're not going to be saddled with it because whoever walks in next is going to have to answer for every bad decision that I made as people are fleeing Los Angeles at a higher rate than ever before. There's the high-speed rail to nowhere. There's the deadly fires. There's the homeless crisis. This guy, it's grotesque. The fact that he's on the forefront. What's even more grotesque is the only reason he's ahead of Kamala and Pete Buttigieg, and it's not by a lot, but he is technically ahead, is because Orange Man bad. You see, because if Gavin Newsom was actually focusing on running the state and not campaigning against a guy that he's not going to be campaigning against, per se, he might not be in this absolute mess that he is in right now, or that he's put this state in right now. The only reason he is popular is because Izzy and the other little twerps that work at the governor press office throw snarky little things out, and all the progressive seals bark and retweet it and talk about how wonderful he is because he's being a douchebag. And I will tell you, I don't think that it will last for Newsom. I really don't. I don't think that the tweets and the jabs are going to be able to carry him for too long. Especially when his wife, and this is from March 9th, and I meant to talk about this before, his wife pushed him for weird gender films in schools. We already know how jacked up the schools are. They just lost a huge Supreme Court case for trying to keep parents away from schools. California is a shit show. And I say it again, I don't care who you vote for, but everybody who's running for governor in California right now on the Democratic side is just a different slice of Gavin Newsom. They may have a different name. They may look different. They may say a couple of different things, but their ideology is no different than Gavin Newsom, which is why they're not winning. Democrats all over the country will not look at California seriously. but Sean, they won the Prop 50 thing in an off-year election. It's not even a midterm election. It was an off-year election, and the California GOP sucks, and they're not good at getting the word out. But you look at people leaving this state, you look at the budget this state's in, you look about people who are stuck here that are not happy about it. There's a reason, and it's showing up, that Democrats in California don't even like the Democrats in California. When you have Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco leading on the conservative side, then you have some other independents out there that are voting well too. Daniel Mercury, who's an independent now because the GOP treated him like garbage, is out there, and they're pointing and poking holes in everything the left is doing and has done in this state. Look, I have my issues with Chad Bianco kneeling. I know a lot of people like Chad Bianco from the conservative right, and that's fine. I have my issues with his kneeling a long time ago with the BLM thing, and I have some other issues with Chad Bianco too. Same thing with Steve Hilton. I'm not a big fan of Steve Hilton's wife. She worked for Gordon Brown. Was it Gordon Brown? It was one of the British PMs. Both men, if they're going to remain the front runner, are really going to have to earn the votes and earn the position. And I know NCX Group said Chad is my sheriff. And look, I don't think Chad Bianco is necessarily a bad man. I just don't necessarily think he's who he is portraying is. He's taking a very Trumpian approach to this campaign and election. And I don't necessarily know if he's that sort of person, or if he hasn't proven to me that he's not just saying the words and talking the talk without being able to walk the walk. So we're going to see. It's going to be an interesting year in California elections wise. Moving on. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about election integrity. First and foremost, I just want to tell you that the juveniles in this country are very, very smart, very, very intelligent, not at all emotionally destroyed. Hilton is a UK government wonk. Hilton worked for Cameron when he was PM. Yeah. Yep. But they're both beating Newsom. And I think a lot of people see that through both of them on many, many levels. And they're still, not Newsom, Swalwell and Potatoes there. So it shows you just how bad things are in California. And yeah, NCX Group, maybe he hasn't proven it to me. There's a lot of things he's done that I still have questions about. He's a very different person now than he was 5 years ago, is all I'm saying. And I'm not saying I won't vote for the man if it comes down to it, but I'm just saying that they both still have to do their work. Both men have to do their work. Anyhow, getting back to the youth in this country being just squared away and doing all right, and able to control their emotions and making good decisions, which in this video would include attacking a bus driver who is in fact driving a bus. And you see the society we're in now. And I talked a couple weeks ago about the societal norms and the deal we had with each other in society. They have to have these plastic shields and guards around buses in a lot of locations to protect the drivers from absolute lunatics like this individual you see right here on the right. And that still did not, protect the driver, nor did it protect the people on the bus. And then why would you fight with the guy doing 30 miles an hour on the road who's driving the vehicle you're on? I'm just glad the bus driver was okay, and I thank the gentleman who stepped in and started pulling him away after he realized what was going on. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that need to be fixed in this world. And there's a lot of things we have to do in our society to fix it. But I digress. I want to talk a little bit about, I want to go to Florida. And we were talking earlier about voter fraud. And we were talking about, it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. And some people say, it happens so infrequently. that it's really not effective. And we don't know that because we don't know who's been caught and who hasn't been caught. I'll tell you who has been caught. John Panici, a 59-year-old Democrat election volunteer down in the Palm Beach area, was arrested in Green Acres, Florida. Authorities say he stole an encrypted access key and computer equipment from the Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections office. This happened just days before the March 24th special election, again, special election, that in Florida's 87th district. The district covers Mar-a-Lago, and the Democrats flipped the seat by a razor-thin margin. Now, it's so funny because I see Democrats on social media all the time talking about what a major victory this is. Oh, it's where Trump lives. It's where Trump lives. And they were able to flip it. And the Democrats are going to take Florida. And the Democrats are going to take this. First and foremost, you now had somebody with access to the votes, which that's kind of suspicious, right? It was a razor-thin margin in an off-year election. You know what happens off-year elections? Nobody shows up. We did our election coverage for that weird special off-year election back in November, was it? When New York picked Mondami in New York City, and we started playing with the numbers the next week, it showed you very much what a tremendously low turnout it was. And not only there, all the Pennsylvania, they had a really low turnout because it, like I said earlier, it wasn't even a midterm election. But why do local elections matter? We focus on the federal so much, and it is a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But the locals elections and securing them are important because that's how progressivism gets their foothold into certain regions. Look at school districts. You look at school boards all over this country and the amount of shrieking, awful, angry white female liberals that are on there and others who are pushing all of this shit down your throat, who are trying to get these porn books into school libraries, who are trying to get boys into women's bathrooms. You saw Fairfax, Virginia, right, a couple years ago. Same thing. And local elections decide things like that. They decide what your kids are going to learn in school or what's going to be affected by them in school just as much as state law does. So when I talk about securing these elections, and when I talk about, like Chad Bianco, again, seizing the 650,000 ballots from the November 2025 special election, because there are more ballots than registered people, it is super, super important. And it's something that as we go on in society, I don't think we're going to realize how much local elections matter as much as national does. And in California and other states, that the Democrats have just taken over all the local cities and people don't, and even the state government on the California level, look at California as a warning as to why this is a tremendous idea. Because if there's one thing Democrats love to do is take control of local elections, spend that city into the ground, demand more money, raise taxes, fuck up school districts, and then not take care of the actual taxpayers in the city. And we need to move beyond that. So I'm going to start a push when we get close to these midterms on local elections, start really focusing in on local elections and maybe not pull everyone specifically, but to reiterate the importance of local elections. And BZ saw this with what was the mayor of that town in Idaho, in Coeur d'Alene, absolute fucking lunatic. The Democrats in Coeur d'Alene were like, oh no, we want this guy in. You look at the main Senate race with the dude that had the Nazi tattoo until everyone found out he had a Nazi tattoo, and then all of a sudden I gotta cover that, even though he still had the Nazi tattoo, the death's head. What's his name? Plagi, whatever his name is. Right? He's actually polling well among the Democrats there. And if people on the right wait too long to activate and organize, all of these lunatics are going to keep taking over like locusts. And if they secure all the local elections, the national ones, kind of don't matter, because if you don't have states pushing the right way, you don't have cities pushing states the right way, if you don't have your school board actually doing the right thing by your children who are going to public school that you and I pay for, then you're never going to get ahead, because there's always going to be one side that's working against you. And it's amazing to me to see how checked out people are in California about these upcoming elections and other local elections. How checked out they were about Prop 50, how checked out they were about the midterms. Conservatives that I know. We're going to lose anyhow. Okay, but still show up just in case. Yeah, and that's, I mean, he's talking about the new mayor, Coeur d'Alene, is cloud pivoting the city administration. Go to shrmedia.com, search Cloud Pivot. I wrote a humongous piece about Cloud Pivot. I know BZ's done shows on it. SHR Media has done shows on it. It's gross, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They are going to adjust this pseudo-Marxist, Cloud Pivotist thing on a local level and plant the seed, the rotten, filthy seed, and hope that it spreads statewide and eventually nationwide. Look, you saw that in New York City. There's this term in law that we use, law enforcement and law in general. It's called fruit of the poisonous tree. It means that in law enforcement, it means once you turn up a piece of evidence and you don't do so legally, everything that you find from that evidence or you work off of that evidence beyond that is no good. It's poisoned, because the tree, that piece of evidence is poisoned. So everything it grows and develops is poisoned. Outside the per se law does not matter. It doesn't matter how you stop the car. It doesn't matter what you do. When it comes to DUIs, if they stop you and you're drunk, you're going to jail. It literally almost nothing that they do now can be thrown out. It's incredible, unless they don't purge the system. But I'm not here to give you legal advice. So you have that fruit of the poisonous tree. And that's what Democrats are doing in these smaller elections. They're planting that poison tree. And they're hoping that people take the fruit from it and spread it, and that the seeds from the fruit that it produces end up in the ground and ends up producing more poisonous trees, until the entire grove is just full of poisonous trees. And you can eat it, and it might even taste good, but you're going to get sick. Eventually, you're going to get the shits. And there's a good chance you might eventually die. Mission Ready Man in the chat room said Republicans are notorious for not showing up on polls. Yep, I've done shows on it. He's done shows on it. We've all done shows on it. And the running joke is because we actually have to go to work. But the simple fact of the matter is, a lot of conservatives, if they don't live in a conservative area, don't bother showing up to vote, because they have the, whatever. Not even sending the message. And then, like in California, when you have a lazy state GOP that does nothing for the candidates that it should be doing, that acts more like the state Democrat committee than it does for the GOP, because it does nothing but spend money stupidly, then how do you get people to say, I'm going to be a part of that and I'm going to vote for that? And you have a lot of conservatives who just stay home, and it's sad. And as we're getting ready for these midterms that are not that far away, it's April. Midterms are in November. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. We're right into campaign season. Right into campaign season 8 months from now. And this is where I'm going to start telling you to start talking to your conservative friends. Do it now. And you're going to hear me repeat this a million fucking times going into these midterms. Get them to show up and vote. Get them to show up and vote. I don't care what happens with the SAVE Act. I mean, I do as an individual. I don't care what the outcome of the SAVE Act is. I don't care what you see. Don't stay home. You send a message. Even if you're in a liberal area in a state like I am in California, you still go and send the message. Show that the numbers are there, because it scares them, but it also tells the other voters in the state that we actually have numbers. And in California, if all the conservatives actually showed up and started voting, it could change the state. And it could happen in a lot of other states as well. So now is the time to start. Now is the time to get people motivated. Because the fight for this country is never over. No matter who's in office, no matter who's running, we're always fighting it. The reason I call this show The Edge of Liberty is because we're always right on the edge of losing it. One way or the other. We're either going to slide into liberty. We're never going to slide fully into liberty because there's always going to be people who are trying to take it away. So we walk that balance. We walk that edge. We stay on it all the time. And we make sure that we maintain that edge as much as we possibly can. Because it could slip one way or the other very, very easily. Folks, that's it for me. Thank you for hanging out on the special edition night. I know it was slow because we're in portrait mode. Shit happens. Don't care. I felt like it was a good show other than my videos being screwed up at the beginning, but that's really more of a me problem than a you problem, right? Right. I'm here every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast on the SHR Media Network and simulcast with our friends over at KLRN, but it's not just me. As a matter of fact, everybody is better. Check out every Monday and Friday, The Reaver of Common Sense, my buddy Jersey Joe. Every Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon on the East Coast. You can find Mission Ready Men with Big E, Tuesday, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. You have the bulbous one, BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, Friday, Saturday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 on the East Coast. You have Beer and Bullstein with Lyle Armstrong. And then, of course, when the alien hits the orbit and he makes an appearance, you can see The Lost Wanderer at 5 p.m. Pacific on our YouTube. Our friend from KLRN, The Lost Wanderer, shows up on our YouTube every once in a while. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here. SHRmedia.com. You can grab some merch. I will see you Monday night, 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on the SHR Media Network. Enjoy your weekend.